Frank, a question for me, the perception of patrol cars, do you actually modify them to go faster, or is that just a myth?
So for the purpose of our resale value, absolutely.
They're all chipped, aren't they, Frank? They've all got the chip.
They've all got the chip. So, yeah, you make sure people think that.
With 30 years' experience in auto logistics and state-of-the-art locations in 5 major Australian cities, Precar Fleet Services are a premier all-in-one solutions provider for commercial vehicle fleet operators, leasing companies and original equipment manufacturers. Please visit precar.com.au and click on the link to Fleet Services.
Fleet managers and their drivers are often lost when it comes to motor vehicle accidents, and knowing what the next steps are can be confusing. We hold your driver's hand every step of the process. At Innovation Group, we process claims right the first time. Innovation Group provides motor claims management, assessing, and accident management services. Our experienced team of people are there to make it easier for the fleet manager and the driver by minimizing touch points between all stakeholders. Innovation Group, leaders in motor accident claims management.
We don't modify anything, John. We don't modify anything because it's hard enough getting a manufacturer to endorse their product, and we want to be able to drive anywhere in the state and say, fix it. That's why we insist it's got to be a manufacturer-endorsed police pack. So we're not going to go fit a dual battery system or anything that we can drive up to Mildura and they say, no, nothing to do with us. Our members haven't got time for that. I think we might be the only police jurisdiction in the country that doesn't modify anything on the vehicle. A lot of them say we don't need dual battery system. Well, we beg to differ. We want a dual battery system endorsed by the manufacturer so that nothing stops.
No, I was just wondering, even brakes and brake pads and that, you just have standard?
No, they're not. In most cases they are now, but the police pack consisted of a brake pad that the manufacturers endorse. So, for example, Holden would put a heavy-duty brake pad on the front, I think, of every car. And we never had a problem with Holdens. Some other manufacturers, we ran the brake test and their brakes fell apart, the actual pads. So we would say, you either got to fix it or we can't buy your car, which they would. But then that would become a dedicated part number in their system, so that when we'd go and get those brakes replaced, we'd get the police pack brake pad, which meets our braking standard. Yeah. So, yeah, we don't modify, but we do get them modified by the manufacturer. And then we insist on making sure that when you replace it with the manufacturer endorsed thing. Otherwise, you've just invalidated all the testing we've done. Because our cars do get driven rather enthusiastically, if you know what I mean.
Now, Frank, from a retention perspective, because resale you mentioned is a big thing, how long do you retain your cars for?
So, look, we're part of the government fleet as well, so we have to abide by government policy. Many years ago, they introduced a 3-year 60,000K regime. It used to be 2-year 40. You know, this is probably 15 years ago. You'll know better than I, Mark, in terms of the dollar costs associated with leasing. The longer the lease, the cheaper the cost. Vic Fleet run the fleet. They look at the resale values. The cars are getting so much better. They're not falling apart, so to speak, at 60. We then took a decision that when we moved to the Holden Divvy van, the VE that you built, we actually moved that to 90,000 Ks. There's the fairly significant fit-out cost associated with that car. We wanted to amortise that cost over the life of the car or the asset. But safety's the primary thing for us. So we actually ran a couple of cars to 90,000. And then we subjected them to the independent engineering tests that we would run the car through before you introduced to the fleet. And the car still performed to our silver standard. We did the same with the Highway Patrol SS Commodore. We ran them to 90, put them through the same performance handling and braking tests, and they were still meeting our standards. So we wanted to make sure that we couldn't be accused of saying, well, you're not looking after the safety of your members by running an old junk bomb. Our cars are serviced in accordance with manufacturer servicing, plus they're checked every 5,000 Ks. So you have to go and get your car checked from a braking perspective, undercarriage, make sure that things roadworthy and safe to drive. We don't wait for the manufacturer required warranty. We have to check them regularly because the way they're driven, they might have some undercarriage damage that you wouldn't have otherwise seen. And you expect this thing to perform in urgent duty driving.
So what you're saying, Frank, when you talked about the police cars are driven vigorously. But on the flip side, you maintain them exceptionally well. There's the standard maintenance plus the additional maintenance that you do and inspections. And you've got extra features in the vehicle which make them safer than, say, a standard OE vehicle. And you maintain it. And then when you dispose of it, you even get refurbishments done for the little fiddly things like little holes in consoles and all that sort of stuff.
Look, we've got a very good contract with our vehicle equipment fitting mob, and part of the contract is you will make sure that the fit is able to then enable us to resell the vehicle as if there was nothing ever fitted to it. So we do stuff like plastic welding, but we actually work with them to actually design our vehicles a lot better than what we used to. So the actual design, it's extremely complex nowadays to the point where we're minimising the amount of holes we drill. We'll actually get stuff that actually fits better into the dash. It's not protruding, so you don't have to screw in. You'd probably replace certain parts there that actually fit more flush with the dash, so it's not extending into the vehicles that could potentially cause harm to our occupants. The other advantage from our point of view in insisting on these safety features is when you sell the car, I mean, you're putting a car on the road that's then got the best safety features available. You never used to get in a base model vehicle. Nowadays, virtually everything you're getting is 5-star ANCAP. But go back 5 or 6 years, base model cars didn't come with stability control, curtain airbags or whatever. You know, like I remember when we first bought the VE, the entry-level car didn't have curtain airbags. It only had side airbags. So we argued vigorously with Holden to say, hang on, if you don't give me the curtain, I don't get head protection. I'm only getting thorax protection. So we cancel our orders until they came back and said, yeah, okay. And that is a benefit back to the public, because then you're getting a car that, you know, your young kids who just turned 18, you're going to give them a shit bomb? No, you're giving them a car that's the safest car you can buy. We actually did some testing once we were getting a bull bar put on a Pajero, and we wanted to make sure that, one, Mitsubishi would endorse it, and two, the airbags went off, right? So we went to a crash test lab in New South Wales, the RTA up there. And, you know, we watched the thing and it all, you know, 54 k's an hour, smashes into a wall, airbags deploy, and the bull bar's still okay. So they then endorsed that bull bar. They took us for a walk, and we looked at a 10-year-old Astra compared to an Astra of the day, and I can't remember what year this was. The 10-year-old thing was basically, and it was a front-end collision that they did. There was a write-off and the occupant would have died. The newer Astra didn't even have the pedals coming back into the cabin. So, and then they said, yeah, you see that? And we think, crikey, you buy these sort of shit bombs for your kids. You shouldn't be doing that. It literally changed everyone's perception of what to buy for your kids that day. And the beauty of the cars we've been buying, we've insisted on better safety. That goes back into the community. Slightly good service back to the community, I would have thought. But from our point of view, we're protecting our members, which is critical for us.
What's interesting, when you look at the 3-year term, so you can change your fleet over in 3 years.
But that's the maximum. So our highway cars are roughly, our divvy vans are changing over about, I think, 13 to 15 months. If we can, because they're on the road all the time. The highway cars are probably moving out to about 30 months now, moving everything to, we would change everything over easily within 3 years, and some well under. Yeah.
So you will have changed your cars over twice by the time Joe Public changes their car. So your cars are significant contributors to the road safety for used car buyers.
And look, can I tell you, Mark, that's a good point. We were actually using that argument a lot with central government for a while when there was some discussion about changing lease terms. And we actually pointed out to some of the bean counters and said, that means I would have missed out on traction control in the first instance, side airbags, because we didn't have curtains yet. Then I would have missed out on curtain airbags and stability control. And stability control, the stats were at the time, 30% of accidents involving a death could have been saved by the vehicle having been fitted with stability control. From my point of view, it's a no-brainer to make sure that you're refreshing a fleet like ours, and it's just adding those safer cars into the community. We would have missed out on a heap of safety features in our fleet if we were turning cars over at, 5-year regimes. You could probably argue now, well, it's not as bad. But we've got us out of a bit of trouble, I reckon.
It cannot be understated the positive impact that your cars have on, the used car market, and because the used car market is twice the size of the new car market, whereas your car's coming back, you bring back the newest used cars possible.
Yeah, you would think so.
Versus Joe Retail, who returns their car in 7 years' time. So right now, you're bringing a car back that's 2 years old that I may go and buy. In fact, I did. Versus someone who's buying a car at the same time that is 7 years old. And the car I'm buying from you has all the good safety gear. It's been maintained and it's a lot younger and still under warranty when you defleet it.
And I think that's the key. And the manufacturer responding by putting out a bigger warranty, which is fantastic too. So everyone's a winner. And don't forget, we've got a chip in the car.
Correct. They're all chipped. They're all chipped. Now, Frank, I'm keen to summarise today's discussion and thank you once again for coming on the show, because when we look at the key challenges that you're solving in your role, you have an incredible balancing act. You have a financial accountability to the government and ultimately every taxpayer in Victoria, but you have a bigger responsibility, which is the safety of your members. And you go about that with an absolute vigour and commitment that no stone is unturned as far as making sure that you provide the safest workplace for these members. Because ultimately, the vehicle is their office. So realistically, these cars get turned over between 18 months and 3 years.
Correct.
That's a lot of cars. So you have a lot of buying power, but importantly, you extend that buying power with a commitment to a manufacturer to give you a solution, because you need the OEM to give you comfort and support and a commitment in return that they will engineer and provide a safe workplace for your members. So you're providing your members a safe vehicle, but you actually maintain them more than what a standard retail customer or even fleet customer would. There's the factory specified services, but you do additional inspections and services. So your cars are maintained exceptionally well. They're chipped, as we said, but more importantly, they're modified with the manufacturer's blessing with safety features, and that is paramount.
That's important.
You've got those safety elements, but you're also environmentally aware and held accountable to lower your carbon footprint, all the time being financially prudent in the vehicles that you purchase and still balancing that fit for purpose.
Yeah.
You maintain police cars as being good investments as used cars. I think they are. I think they're an exceptional investment, as do many younger drivers where often they're their first car. So highly recommend anyone listening, go to the auctions, look for one of your cars. They're great value for money and you won't be disappointed. So Frank, thank you so much. It's a credit to you for how you go about it. The challenges, you've had plenty. There's many a curveball, and I'm sure there'll be more curveballs coming. You do it with a smile. You do it with a laugh. You are an industry oracle and legend, and I really thank you for sharing your story on our podcast today.
Oh, thank you, guys. Lovely to meet you, John, and thank you, Mark. It's good to see you again. I must say, one thing I'm remiss of me for not saying it, I've got a great team of people who really support the business.
Thank you for listening today. Hopefully you enjoyed the discussion with Frank Melilli as much as we did. Frank is a living legend when it comes to police cars and fleet operating, and very much a champion of safety in vehicles. If you like what you heard and saw, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube, tick the bell. Also, you can listen to us on Auto Currents, our website. Subscribe to Spotify and iTunes, and look out for updates on LinkedIn.